Flipsters, I'm Lauren.
And I'm Lincoln, and we are happily married.
But not to each other.
Yeah, we're old friends from college, and we're flipping houses in the Austin, Texas area.
And we're taking you along for the ride. Hey Flipsters, welcome back. Another episode of the podcast. I'm Lauren.
I'm Lincoln.
And today we have a very special guest. This is Joe. He is our co-founder of Homemade and also head of all things client relations. If you've been a client of ours or you're thinking about being a client of ours, Joe is the guy. He makes it happen around here, and we're so excited to have you on today.
What's up, y'all?
Welcome to the pod, Joe. You've been on
This
once
is
before.
crazy.
You've been on before.
It's a different experience. New house,
Yeah.
new pod.
Solo.
We're back,
This
baby.
is your solo debut. You came on with a partner of ours at a different property earlier in the season, but really wanted to talk today about the project that we are sitting in. It just went live. Beautiful house, and there's a ton of backstory on this one, which we'll get into.
Let's get into it, but I want to know how you're doing, Lauren.
I'm doing great.
I haven't seen you in a minute.
I know.
We're recording this our first podcast in the new year.
Yeah.
There's some new things happening, new things about it. Did you do any resolutions for this year?
No.
No, you're not a resolutions person?
I'm not a resolutions person.
Why not?
I don't want to fail. No,
You're just bad at resolutions.
No, I just have, I don't know. I
Do you
feel like
make
I have a lot
goals?
of-
Do you self-reflect at all? Or is
Not
your
really.
life just so
Not.
perfect?
It's just, already, yeah. No, I think I have like things that I'm trying to keep and maintain and continue doing and like new things to incorporate, but I don't have like a firm, like this is my mantra.
What
for
about
the
you,
year.
Joe? You got anything? You changing it up this year? Or...
I'm not a huge fan of New Year's resolutions either. I try and kick them off in December, but just so that by the time January rolls around, you're in stride.
What was your December resolution?
It's very alpha move. You're trying to get ahead of the curve on the.
One of them was to clean up my beard because my parents kept complaining about it. So
Okay.
look 15 again.
All right.
It looks good. It looks sharp.
Nothing too crazy. Just the normal,
What's the homeostasis level of the beard going to be? Is it?
It's patchy like the backyard. I don't know.
You
we'll
gonna let
have
it
to
keep
figure it out.
going, or you gonna? Is this gonna keep? Are you gonna?
I think your length is about where I'd like to get there, my guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I keep this.
Taking notes, taking pics.
This is a close trim.
Yeah, we did get Star Words at church this week. Do y'all do this at your church?
what?
Star Words. It's
I
like
don't
you
know
get
what
a
we're talking
word,
about.
you draw out a
Enlighten us.
word at the beginning of the year, and that's sort of like your word for the year. So I got purpose.
Oh wow.
Yeah. My
And this
8-year-old
is-
got self-control.
This is like a church fortune cookie word.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Church fortune cookie. But so anyway. So I guess
So you're
that's my mantra. For
You're
the
gonna
year.
finally find your
I'm gonna
purpose.
find my purpose. Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
Pursue
okay.
things with purpose. It sounds like you have a resolution. It
I
sounds
don't
like you want to
No,
talk
go
about
for
it.
it.
No, it's a topic of conversation. I don't have a resolution this year. I'm like you guys, not a resolutions person because I think, to me, it's like on Valentine's Day when you're forced to be romantic is like not romantic. You know what I mean? Like here's our scheduled time. We're doing the date and the thing. It's like just go out whenever you want, have that nice night. And I feel like the same about resolutions. It's like you want to make a change, do it because I feel like if you're waiting to the calendar day and you're like, then that's gonna be it.
When everyone's making the change at the same time,
Yes.
so it's like the gym is packed. Not that I've been, but the yoga studio, the whatever. It's like, it's just overdone. It's too much.
I'm on my kick.
I know you're on your kick.
I've worked out for 228 days in a row.
Amazing.
And my bro. Not that's just humble brag, but the gym in January, I had no idea. I can't even go. I went after work yesterday. It was unusable. Every single machine.
Yeah.
Somebody was on. So
You know
I'm-
it's
For
not gonna
context, Lincoln is a member of LA Fitness. and LA Fitness is the full buffet bar of gym participants. You've got
you gotta
you've got some creatures in
Is
there.
LA Fitness one of these like $5 a month places? Like,
It's somewhere between the Planet Fitness,
yeah.
$10 a month. No, it's like $50 a month. So it's definitely a budget. It is the demographic for LA Fitness is: do you have a pulse? Does your body work? And do you have $50?
We're calling out LA Fitness hard.
I'm
right
sorry,
now,
LA
yeah.
Fitness. I go because it is literally the closest gym in proximity.
you're not
to,
going to Equinox?
No. Well, no.
I would totally do that.
I thought about it because as much as I'm going, I'm like, yeah, this is an investment, but it's a location factor for me.
Yeah.
You gotta
be easy.
It's on South Congress in Austin. I don't know that I would fit in there anyway, but I for the amenities,
I could do the steam room.
LA Fitness is like going to the airport. It is like you will be working out next to a fitness influencer vlogging the thing, next to an 80-year-old woman, next to a child working out, next to just gym, like a Venice Beach muscle head guy, next to a 400-pound guy. It is the sea of humanity. They have not segmented that market at all. And me, you know, I'm right there in the thick of humanity.
Which category are you in?
I don't know. I'm in. I don't know what category I fit. What have you been watching this time of year? What are you into?
Well, I was going to say I had a similar experience at the doctor's office.
Oh,
I went
you did?
yesterday.
What's
I
your
got a new
doctor's?
primary, and I was like maybe one of the only people in there without an oxygen tank.
Oh, God.
It's like, man, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Whatever they say in this appointment, I'm good. You know,
Yeah.
I don't have like, you know, maybe I shouldn't.
I'm reading a book right now called Outlive. You heard of this?
I read this. I told you about this.
No, you did not.
100%. I told you about this.
No.
This is like the Stanley Cup thing.
No.
Yeah, okay.
No, this was on somebody's list. I'm reading
Mine.
No. I read another book called it was called like Ageless or another one of these Don't Die kind of books or whatever. This one's not as good as that one, by the way. But the thing
How Not to Die? I've read that one too.
It's like that. Are you living by these principles? Did you
my-
learn anything from these books?
Yeah, I really liked it.
It talks about VO2 max. All right, I was trying to get my VO2 max up the other day.
I never remember to put my Apple Watch on. I always want to check it.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna do it.
It's on there. If you record a walk on your Apple Watch, it'll score your estimated VO2 max. And I was training up, but anyway, it talks about like being able to do stuff when you're old. Basically, like you got to train like hell to be able to. What is this?
Finished that book on July 9th. I gave it 4 stars.
Outlive.
Okay. All right. Great. It's a 4-star read for Lauren. Yeah, I'd give it. It's like a 3.5 for me so far. I'm gonna gut it out. I'm not gonna quit in the middle of the book, but it gets a little in the weeds on some like molecules.
It's basically like there's like one of 3 things it's gonna get you.
4 horsemen.
Yeah. What is it? Heart disease, cancer, Alzheimer's, or diabetes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and all of them have like a root cause, which is
It's like metabolic dysfunction. Yeah.
crazy.
Craziness. Yeah. So I'm in the middle of that, but yeah, I've my metabolic health is much
Improving?
Much improved. My blood pressure. My boy Joe over here got a blood pressure cuff. Inspired me to get cuffed up. I got a blood pressure cuff now, and I got this one that will sync up with Apple Health. So it's like I got it in the app right now. I got a log of
What are your readings?
Too high.
That is a HIPAA violation. No, my last was 100 over 70.
Holy cow.
100 over 70.
That's impressive. I'll give you that.
I look and see. I got.
What's your VO2 max?
Okay, the VO2 max has dipped a bit. Okay,
44?
and
Okay.
it's my peak was 46.2, which is like upper. It's like
Olympian level?
No. For my age group, that is like above average, and like getting up to the upper quartile. It dipped. I worked out every single day, and it dipped, and it's just now come back up. And I'm reading this book, and it's the Outlive, and it talks specifically about like a VO2 max protocol, which is like stay in zone 2 a bunch, and then do these like 4-minute on, 4-minute off rest, kind of like 4x4 of that to like
to sprint?
Yeah. So you do like so you do 4 minutes of basically the most intense pace you could sustain for 4 minutes.
Okay.
Right? So it's not quite a sprint. A sprint would be 30 seconds or something.
Yeah.
So it's as much as you can do for 4 minutes. Rest, get your heart rate down to like 100.
Rest, like stop or walk?
Walk.
Okay.
Get the heart rate back down to like 100 for about 4 minutes, and then repeat and do that 4 sets of that. And that helps apparently jack that VO2 max all the way up, which is correlated with like, longevity and health in your. I'm planning to be 80 here soon, so I gotta get prepped for that. You know,
starting early.
Yeah. What's the average life expectancy right now? It's like 78, something crazy.
Yeah, it's not. It's like 80. Yeah, it's not
almost
much.
halfway there.
Almost.
Okay, so you asked me what I'm watching.
Yeah, what are you watching?
Oh my gosh, I am watching the craziest show. It's called Paris in Love.
Okay.
It's about Paris Hilton. Before you even judge, I started watching season 2 because that's what was recommended to me, and then now
start at season 2.
Yes, and I would never do that, but I do that because now I'm watching season 1, and season 1 kind of sucks. But season 2, so it's Paris Hilton, right? Her husband, they have a baby via a surrogate, but they don't tell anyone until the baby is 10 days old. Like she brings her mom over to her house, and she's like, "Mom, I've got a surprise for you," and she's holding her baby.
Oh my!
And
goodness.
it's like crazy, and it kind of goes through the dynamics of
why did they withhold that?
So she says because she couldn't trust her family to not go to the press with it, which is really sad. Yeah. But also the husband seems like maybe he's kind of a control freak as well. So, I don't know exactly everything going on there. And also her dynamic with her mom. So you don't watch any Beverly Hills, do you? Real Housewives?
To be honest, I'm surprised she's alive. I didn't even know Paris Hilton was still out.
Okay, yeah. So Kathy, there's a whole like tree of dysfunction in this family, but it is so fascinating because they're like, so she has a baby since you're about to have a baby.
Oh again. Yeah, it's a very similar scenario.
Very similar,
right here, except
y'all announced it like 9 months ago.
We
so
did
what's up with that?
People,
what is
my
up with
wife
that?
is actually delivering.
Harder to hide when you don't have a surrogate. But
I'm not putting it on a reality show. I guess there are some differences.
Yeah, nobody would leak it to the press.
You just did. You just outed me on our podcast.
By the time this comes out, you'll have. Anyway, so she has this baby nurse, nanny, whatever. She never changed the baby's diaper ever until it was a month old. So #goals on that one.
Wow.
Yeah, but so I think it's just
she just let it fill up and fill up and fill up, and then finally couldn't take it anymore, or
no. So basically she's setting it up where and the nanny's gonna raise this. It's the same dynamic, right? So she's like, oh, the baby's like 3 or 4 days old. She's like, I gotta go to a book tour in New York, and just like leaves. And
wow,
yeah. So it's sad. The rich have problems too. That's what really I learned.
Well,
more money, more problems.
That is an insane thing to be watching. That is crazy.
But I recommend it. It's like it's just fascinating, and like the psychology of it all. And her relationship with her sister. Like her sister comes over and she like waits in like the foyer for her to be ready. Like she doesn't know her very well, kind of thing. It's like really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
Wow.
If you're looking for a new show, I binged it.
You watching this, Joe?
Maybe I'll check out season 2 here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Start with season 2.
Start with season 2. Don't even bother with 1. Noted. It's boring.
Oh, that's cool. We're into season. I don't even know what season it is on The Crown on Netflix.
Oh, the latest one.
Have you watched the latest?
Not the latest.
It's the one where Princess Diana gets introduced. Okay. The actress that plays Princess Diana looks a lot like Princess Diana.
I think that's why she was cast.
Do they screen for that, or is that
yes!
they take that? I know they do that. Yes, I know. I know that they intentionally, but I'm saying it's remarkable still how
she was born for the role.
She's born for that
role. If she didn't get this role, what would she? I mean,
she would be nothing.
She probably can't get any other role
because
they're like,
know if she's a famous actress. Beyond, like,
probably not because they're like, you look too much like Diana. We can't cast you in anything.
Maybe. You know what? I mean, it is a face, but it's the hair. You know, she had that like, I don't know. It's not like a bowl cut, but that 70s
Bob
Mary
thing.
Lou Retton-y sort of thing. Very bizarre. I don't know if they portray it very accurately, but like the Charles Camilla, Diana love triangle situation. I don't think I knew any of that.
Oh, for sure. That's why it was so scandalous when they ended up getting married. Like she was do like a homewrecker original.
I guess.
Although I think he was just in love with her all along.
You feel bad for all of them. It was like they were in love, and then his family said, "Don't get married," and then his family said, "But do marry Diana," and then Diana was all stoked.
Similar to the Hiltons, where they don't like talk about anything real or important.
And it's crazy. And they say in the show, and they're like, "How many times are we gonna like make people marry people they don't want to, and not let people get married, whatever?" And then they do the same thing with old Harry and Meghan. You know what I'm saying? Man, it's just a vicious cycle, just like Paris
Harry
Hilton.
and Meghan are breaking the cycle, though.
Are they?
They got out of Dodge. I mean, they moved to California.
Breaking something.
Is that the cycle? But he's not. He's the spare. So it's like, how much of a are you really?
I read his autobiography.
I know you did.
It was good. It was good-ish. I also read Britney Spears, and like I like both of them, and then by the end of the documentary it's just like, I'm a victim every single time, and you're like, I think it's you.
Is that what your memoir is going to be eventually?
I think it's
how I victimized you.
I think it's you.
Everything in your life is not your fault.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'll be writing a memoir.
Oh, but people want to know what is going on in your life. Cool.
Well, so let's talk about some real estate
Some
stuff.
real things?
Yeah, some real things. So yeah, we're sitting in our latest property, just went live, hot listing according to Zillow.
Zillow thinks it's
91% more likely to sell than other houses nearby.
Yeah.
Or is that a Redfin?
One of the
Zillow.
two. Zillow. It was Zillow. You ever track those? The Zillow recommended. Do you think they're accurate? I've listed a lot of houses.
Everything starts off at 99, 98, and then
it's a marketing thing.
I've never seen anything.
Marketing.
Yep.
I used to think the Redfin one was accurate because those houses used to sell when they would give us the hot home, but no, not anymore. But it's better than not having it. So
Paris Hilton's slogan or saying is, "That's hot."
That's hot.
Yeah. It all comes full circle.
Wow.
The home, that's hot.
That's a callback. The house looks great, though.
Also, one more thing.
Yeah. Oh, no. Let's keep going. Let's keep talking.
So she talks in like a baby voice.
Yeah.
But then sometimes she switches to her normal voice and it's like really deep. And she goes back and forth between her like character voice that you think of as like Paris Hilton and her actual voice.
Like the voice that she says, "That's hot." And
yeah.
That's her baby
hot.
voice.
Yeah.
Ugh, gosh.
But it's really bizarre. It's really bizarre. Okay. Anyway, so this house is hot.
Disturbing.
So this house, let's start at the very beginning. Let's go back.
Yeah.
In time and talk about how we even found this house to begin with.
Yeah. So this was an estate sale house.
Right.
Joe, you know a little of the background.
Yeah, this was funny. Talk about having an application funnel and like interacting with our audience. This was on one of our prospective clients' like short list.
Yes, that's right.
And
the
when
Canadian
we were
couple.
getting to meet them,
yeah,
we were kind of just going back and forth around what working together would look like. And they had floated the idea of living in the post-renovated product after we were done with it. They had like started looking around in Austin. They had maybe 20 different addresses. And to Lincoln's point, this was listed on the market and it was on their hot sheet.
And simultaneously, we'd been talking to the owner and trying to work a deal
without knowing
that they might be interested in this
which
house
was kind of
live
funny.
in.
We thought it would be fate.
Yeah.
But fate had some twists and turns.
So that kicked off a whole process.
Yeah. So we had never done so we created Homemade obviously to help our partner clients like flip houses, and we had never contemplated flipping a house that then the partner clients would ultimately live in. And that's what they were contemplating for this house, which is why we were particularly interested in it, because it might be a good fit. And that's really hard to do.
Well, yes, but I think if you could do it, it makes a ton of sense because then you're moving into a renovated house that has equity built in, right? You're not looking to flip it for a profit right away, but you still have that margin and buffer as an owner. So I think it's cool. The challenge with it is...
The challenge with flipping a house that you're going to ultimately live in is you got to be kind of flexible on which house that you end up renovating, right? Because 100%. You catch as catch can on flip projects. You don't know when they're going to become available and in what locations. You can go scouting, but you got to be ready to strike while the iron's hot and then be prepared to live in this thing. So that's why we were thinking, I don't know if we'll ever be able to like truly match up somebody because it has to be at their right price point, the right part of town, a house that fits for their needs versus for an investor, the numbers just have to work, right?
But that was the one advantage I think that we were thinking last summer. The market was still, kind of TBD. And for folks that live in, they're not so like sensitively tied to the outcome at that moment when they were, say, to refinance and move into the home. As long as, like you mentioned, Lauren, there was some equity built in and maybe they could pull some of what they had put into the project out, but not need to like fully cash out or have like a return profile that they hit. That was, I think, one of the things that got us excited enough to get the ball rolling offer. And this was listed at $725 originally?
Is that right?
I think so.
Sounds about right.
And then, of course, this comes about the Canadians making us work on July 4th weekend. And,
you and I met them out here. So they flew down.
Yep.
They were living in California? Where are they?
The Seattle area, I think.
Oh, Seattle, is that right?
It's West Coast.
Yeah. It's all
they love us on the West Coast.
But they came in specifically because they wanted to look at the house. So we've set it up to where, we've got clients from all over, obviously. And they buy from Seattle or California, and they don't necessarily come and visit the properties first, but because they were going to live in it, they wanted to see it in person.
Yeah. next day, or we got the house under contract. I want to say 2 days later, the wife of the couple was here in person to kind of get a full tour of the place, and off to the races we went.
And what was the contract price? Do you remember?
So it was listed at $725, and we were able to lock it up at $650.
Awesome.
Which was great.
Yeah.
That's a great discount.
Really great. 88 or 89% of the list price value. So it's one of the things we track at Homemade. But from there, the team had put together the rest of the marketing collateral to be able to send out. Really, we were thinking they were the only fit for this house at that time.
Because it was a much bigger purchase price than we normally do. So typically our Homemade projects, we're trying to buy a house in the 4s and sell it in, 6s kind of thing.
Right.
And this was requiring a lot more capital than we typically do with our clients.
Totally. And
which made sense for people who are going to live in it full time, but maybe not as much not as much for people who are actively investing in, like you're saying, looking for return. You're outlaying a lot more capital. You're expecting a bigger return on that.
Totally. Yeah, totally. So anyway, we were able to pull together the full marketing collateral. Really was intended to have an audience of one on the receiving end of it. We go through the whole weekend, and at the last second, to your point on twists and turns, Lauren, they say no for, I think, most of the reasons that Lincoln had mentioned, which was huge lift to do virtually.
And they were still kind of up in the air as to whether they're actually moving to Austin or not. And they had some personal things. So it was kind of in flux.
Which we didn't really know at the time when we pulled the trigger on going forward with this. But the one thing I would say, which was really fun, Zach, our CTO, was building the Flip engine at that time. Mm-hmm. And this was the first house that we used the scoping tool to put together.
So what is the Flip engine?
Well, that's one of the things that we're building is at Homemade is the software to power the actual scoping of these things, because it's one of the most difficult things that investors face, which is how do you quickly put together a scope of work that's accurate, that's detailed enough, and that can spit out a reliable, budget for these things. We've got to be able to do all of that within our option periods, which are typically 7 days, 10 days at most, but generally 7. We got to be able to put that together and present that to our partner clients all within that option period. So that's the software that powers sort of our back end estimating and planning of the renovations that we're going to do on the project.
And the way it works is it really kind of narrows down. Once you have the property, it pulls data from the MLS, which is the multiple listing service, and it shows you other homes in the area that would be good comps. And then we kind of use the human perspective to go in and say, is this really actually a good comp? And so that's what you're saying. We were able to do that more quickly than we had in the past, because rather than scourging the internet for data, we were able to just automatically kind of pull.
Right. It helps us underwrite as step 1, and then it helps us scope and budget as step 2. Totally.
Yeah. So, this was the first time we did that full process. There were some bugs. I want to say our appliance budget the first time around got some pushback from everybody. Mm-hmm. So we were playing around with the data inside the database. But it was really cool to see that work product come together and have that be the first thing that our clients get to see. Anyway, we get to the end of the weekend. Our option is up on Monday, and they're out.
Yeah.
So we're, I think, kind of internally thinking, this is a bust. And out of the blue, one of our other partners, our clients that we had worked with on the project or a few projects before Shadow Valley went live, came out of the woodworks. And I was like, I love the deal.
Well, because it was a good deal, right? It was they were basically
we
saying,
bought it 75 under.
Exactly. We were getting a steal on it. So it was going to be a shame if no one did this deal. And they were basically not doing it because they weren't sure they wanted to move here and live in it. But then the numbers looked
Penciled
great.
Out. Yeah. And I think all around by that point, they had just gotten in their heads to say, well, we don't believe in the comps, or we don't believe in the overall value of the project. But we had a lot of conviction, to Lincoln's point, that this was, Northwest Hills is probably one of the 3 best neighborhoods to live in Austin.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's talk about where we are. So we're in North Austin. To your point, super valuable. It's a really cool neighborhood. It's kind of almost has a California feel because of the hills nature to it. Custom houses, so they're all a little bit different.
Quirky.
Yeah.
Our backyard on this one is the definition of it.
Yeah, we're on the side of a hill, so there's a super steep elevation change in the backyard, which is one of the challenges of this house specifically. It cuts into your backyard, but it's part of the deal. If you want to live in Northwest Hills, which is a prestigious neighborhood, it comes with the territory, right? It's the Northwest Hills. You're on a hill, so I think people accept that over here, but it is a challenge, right?
Yeah, totally. anyway, not challenging enough for Randy to say, I
Yeah.
like
So,
it.
so Randy's our client. You may recognize him from the channel because we did a deal with him previously. And funny story, the deal that we had done with him previously was this exact house.
So he was already
just
familiar.
in a different part of town.
Yep.
And he had literally just wrapped that one, right? So the
few weeks
timing
prior.
was like
Couldn't be better.
perfect. And he was super interested. But to our earlier point, it was a big lift. It was much more of a capital requirement than typically we do. So he called you, said, I'm interested. I just don't feel like I can take this myself.
Yeah. And funny enough, when we went into the weekend of when option was set to term, he expressed a ton of interest. He's just like, this is going to be too heavy of a swing or too much of a lift. Just kind of given their personal situation too. And obviously we had thought, the other Canadians were going to be the front runner. So not much else went into it. On that Sunday, Randy was like, is there anyone else that's open to kind of going splitsies on this with me?
Okay.
And Lincoln and I looped in one of our other partners who had not yet done a deal and was kind of waiting for the right opportunity. And when we connected with him, it sort of all magically came together. Julian and his brother Steven loved the deal. Randy loved the deal. They were open to going splitsies and kind of going 50-50.
Well, so this is not like going out to dinner and splitting the bill. It's a little more like getting married at the courthouse when you first meet, right? To walk through that process, because this was not an easy, it's easy to say in hindsight, but you put a lot of work and effort into making this a reality. Talk a little bit about like, what does that even mean? How does that entity work? What does that look like?
Totally. I think that's the value for being a Homemade partner, is that Homemade is the trusted intermediary to introduce the people that are on our platform to one another. We're not Homemade putting equity into the deal, so we're not necessarily like a true sponsor part of the entity that gets formed, but people have a high degree of trust in y'all, and they like having sort of us be able to play matchmaker amongst them to move forward doing a deal. So there's a lot that goes into it. I could use some help on the lifting part, but really I'd say it's just us being in close tune with our partners and clients and getting a good feel for their buy box, the types of projects that get them excited to do deals. And this was one, especially after the experience on Sweetwater that Randy had, he wanted a deal with more meat on the bone. Mm-hmm. And what we were seeing at that time in Austin was you'd have to move up the continuum to take a swing on like $1 million listing.
And these are a little more appealing right now, especially in Austin, because they typically in the higher price points tend to be cash buyers or people that are less sensitive to interest rates. It's not as big of a deal,
totally,
as we've been seeing in that like some of the lower price points. So there is a lot of incentive to do the bigger projects. It's just getting past that hoop of capital requirements.
So to your point, there was a lot to get them paired up that we needed to do. We needed to introduce them and make sure that they jive, vibe check with each other, which I think both sides of that they're very easygoing and sort of business minded, not like they were a great fit to partner up. We needed to form an entity for them or help them form an entity. So they created a new LLC to actually take down the property. We needed to figure out, basically, because they were going splitsies, the ultimate control and sort of voting rights of that and capital contributions. So we got that sorted out. Basically, we had one of them be sort of the lead investor, put in more capital, and one be the follow-on investor. Not to say a silent partner, but have less ownership in the LLC, and then get it taken down. But we did that in a short order, right? Because we had to make all of that happen. It
was a quickie wedding.
2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
In 2 weeks, 3 weeks prior to closing. Yeah. So it was a lot.
Yeah. And what Lincoln just described basically was us launching a new product line for Homemade by being able to fractionalize our deals. This was the first time we have ever done that.
Yeah.
And we had like some folks who had expressed interest in kind of, like JVing up and splitting the overall equity requirement and the proceeds of the deal, but they don't really make sense, to your point earlier, Lauren, on our if a partner is going to make maybe 40 grand, splitting that between two people is not as exciting as splitting the payday here potentially between two people.
Yep.
So these types of deals make way more sense for the fractional opportunity in that capacity, but it helped us kind of reduce the overall equity requirement that our future partners would need. So we're being, through the experience here, we're able to reach out to more potential folks to work together, which I think is something we're excited to see how that plays out in 2024.
And I think it worked out really well too, because Randy wasn't a first-time client. He had been through the experience and knew how it worked. if we'd had 2 first-timers plus a first-time product, I think we would have had, a lot more hesitation. But he really, knew and trusted that process and made a great sort of lead investor between the two, right? Because he knew how it worked. So I mean, 100%. Kudos to you.
Kudos to the house being the same.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a great segue. Let's talk about the house, because we have flipped this house before, kind of.
Yeah. So back in the day, one of the funny things I think is that people go out into the suburbs and they say, oh, it's all cookie cutters. It all looks the same, It's really like, no, all houses all look the same. It's just the suburbs trees aren't mature enough.
Right. Or it was what era were you built? Because even the cool craftsman houses are all the same. It's just they're all built in the 20s. And so they're all in the center of town. And then you keep going out.
Exactly. So you flip houses long enough in a city like Austin, and then you start to realize, oh, these were all just cookie cutters back in the day. Now these are just what was the suburbs are really the nice, hotness, prestigious neighborhoods like Northwest Hills.
Well, and they go in rings, right? So we'll flip a house on the north ring, and then we'll flip a house on the south ring, and they're probably like 20 miles apart, but it's the same house,
right?
Which is
same floor plan.
Yeah.
They're just built in the same era by the same developer. Yeah, and so this was the same developer that had done the house that Randy did, which was not far from here. Is still North Austin, but I bet it's a good 15 miles from here, maybe.
Easy. Yeah, easy.
And so therefore a different price point, because this one is closer in to downtown.
Mm-hmm. But it was almost identical layout of the house.
Slightly different. Remember, so that one they had added on in this back space, and it was a little bit different configuration in the like bathroom garage situation, but
yeah, Massiel, can we link in the show notes to that episode on YouTube? If you guys haven't seen the episode that we're talking about, you should check it out.
The electric. Do you remember the electric on that one?
Yeah, it was the DIY electrical house where they basically just decided electrical work, you can just daisy chain as many outlets into the same outlet as you want.
It's a miracle that house did not catch on fire.
Yeah. Do you remember we went there on a day that it was raining, and we were in basically the same location we are right now on the bottom floor, and water
through the lights
was coming through the lights into the kitchen.
That? Yeah.
I do remember that because I thought we were about to get electrocuted and die.
Well, I think that was one of my favorite edits Emily's done is like the PSA where she has the lightning bug, teaching people about electricity, because that house was crazy. But the fun thing about doing a house again, it's almost like you get a do-over, right? It's like, would you like to do high school again? Yeah, I would.
Now, a quick word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Homemade. What is Homemade? Hey, glad you asked. Homemade is a turnkey house flipping service we've built to solve the needs of aspiring flippers like you who want to get started in house flipping, but want to do it with the backing of a professional and experienced team. We've designed Homemade so that our team will be with you through every step of your house flipping journey. Our team will deliver investment-grade properties straight to your inbox. We'll work with you to design your project to maximize ROI. We'll oversee renovations and handle all the permitting requirements. Along the way, we'll hook you up with our vetted network of service providers to help finance, insure, and stage your property. Once your project is wrapped, we'll be with you arm in arm to execute your exit plan, whether that's through a sale as a flip or holding the property in your personal portfolio as either a long or short-term rental. At Homemade, we've taken an outdated and frustrating house flipping process and turned it into a seamless and rewarding experience so that novice and even seasoned flippers can have access to this investment class without having to delve into the nitty-gritty everyday headaches that this business often entails. At Homemade, we do the heavy lifting for you. So if you've always wanted to flip a house, head on over to homemade.co to learn more about our platform and apply to work with us. That's homemade.co. Peace. Yeah.
And you know what to do better or different or keep the same.
Well, let's talk about that, because you designed both of them, right? Which
one's my favorite?
Is this like your children? Are you gonna like pretend to not have a favorite?
Yeah,
no. Well, talk to us about like what did you like and not like about the first one? What did we do different here, design wise? Like, what are you thinking there?
Yeah, so I think the challenge with this layout on both of them is the kitchen, because it's just you're just limited by what you can do.
It's tucked here in the back of the house.
It's tucked in the back of the house, which is not totally modern. It's not you can work to open it up, which we did in both cases, but it's just you kind of are stuck with the layout that you have. Now, also both of them previously had really low ceilings, which we were able to elevate. I think it was in the first one that we could do a little bit more, right? I can't remember now. They're mixing together in my mind which one had plumbing running through it. I think it was this one, right? So we couldn't do exactly what we had done previously and open it up as much.
Yeah, they both. So they both have the master bathroom is directly above the kitchen, right? So you have plumbing from that shower and toilet and all that running down above your kitchen. So originally there's a fur down that really makes the ceiling height of that kitchen really low. You can bump that up, but that means we had to reroute the plumbing all to the exterior wall, which you can do. You have to do a slight fur down above the kitchen cabinets over there to be able to shove it all there and get it to the exterior wall. And Joe, I don't know if you remember on the construction of this, they were very similar, but we had a slight difference of being able to reroute that on this one. Yeah.
Yeah. Great flag. That was the one curveball on this that we didn't anticipate. We thought
we've done this before.
We thought we knew we were going to see up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we've done it before.
A week or two into the construction, once we had just wrapped up demo, our plumber had to cut through the floor joist on the second floor and run kind of plumbing how Lincoln described. And that's how we ended up with this fur down here. We weren't able to go the full Sweetwater extent where there was no fur down whatsoever.
Yeah.
And we were able to raise the entire thing. So
one thing we were able to do that I don't think we would have maybe done otherwise is in Sweetwater, the previous owner had put in a closet at the end of the primary bedroom, in kind of this like vacated space in like the attic almost, right, or behind the other closet, right? They robbed part of the closet from the bedroom. And so I don't think we would have thought to do that, but because we had done this before and the closet space was a little bit limited on this one, we're like, hey, we know exactly where to run a closet. And that time it worked. There wasn't any kind of difference between the two. To answer your previous question, I think this one's my favorite because it's got the painted ceiling in the dining room. It's got the upgraded countertops. It's got the wallpaper in the powder room. Because of the price point, we got to do a little bit more design-wise here than we got to do at the other one. And so I think, having just sort of the elevated materials really makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one's more of a neutral palette too, right? The other one, I think
more
you used blues and stuff. Yeah, and the other one had that big sunroom off the back, which was an addition that we had to work with. That I think we did a great job of converting it, but those back extension conversion rooms are always a little bit awkward, Yeah. And I love the powder bath here. We did this are those storks? Are those cranes? Are those what are these? There are these birds on the wallpaper.
Birds. I'm a big fan of I'm a big fan of birds in general.
Bird.
I am. I think I'm gonna get into birding when I'm old.
Oh my gosh. Do you watch that movie The Big Year? You ever seen this?
No.
It's about bird watching.
Sign me up. There's just something about them. It's like freedom or something. I don't know.
You like to
I don't know what the subconscious
them?
is. I just like them.
They're odd little creatures. They're weird.
Yeah, they're like old dinosaurs.
They're old dinosaurs flapping around, trying to come steal my popcorn.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
What's your favorite bird?
Oh, I don't know.
What's your least favorite bird? You got a most hated bird? Most annoying bird?
Maybe a duck.
Seagull.
What? Who hates a duck? Ducks are majestic. Ducks are they're maybe the best birds.
The best birds? Oh, yeah. I don't know.
You ever been duck hunting? You ever been on a duck hunt?
Not been on a duck hunt.
Duck hunt's a great hunt. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't think you really love ducks.
Eat a duck. Sorry, I didn't mean to turn this into it. Yeah, no, ducks are great. Way better. Yeah, seagulls are disgusting little birds. Annoying
beach
little
experience. Eat your popcorn.
Yes. They're fun to watch on the waves, though. Have you ever seen what are the ones that they eat the fish with the big? I'm blanking on their name.
Like from Finding
Pelicans?
Nemo?
Pelicans.
Yeah,
they're awesome.
All right, well that's been bird
I like the
corner.
little sandpipers. Those are my favorite birds.
With the little legs,
and those are my favorite birds.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for watching Birding with Lauren. So we got the bird wallpaper in here, and I think we got a similar. The exterior of these look the same, but I think they both had a lot of curb appeal. This one's a little even more stately because of the lot. It sits up on a hill on this lot.
Yep,
looks really sharp.
The trees too here, to your point, Lauren, in this neighborhood are gorgeous. All of them live oak, they surround the property.
Can't buy the trees.
Can't buy the trees.
One thing you cannot
also
buy.
Can't touch the trees in Austin.
Yeah.
Couldn't touch the trees if you wanted. You're stuck with the big trees. What else? So yeah.
And if you want to know more about this house,
oh yeah,
we got an episode that is dropping this weekend.
Okay.
So
it'll be out by the time you're listening to this podcast.
We're recording this so that we can hype.
Oh, we planned this?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have like a production team behind this?
I have the best production team in
How
Austin.
are you pulling this off? This is amazing. So you're telling me that we were recording a podcast about a house that we're doing a YouTube episode.
Yeah, and it's dropping on a Thursday,
and
the YouTube episode dropping on Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications.
Can we make all of that a clip too?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Time on the
you just watched it.
Let's talk about, so we talked about the design, and for the record, I'm calling this like modern traditional, because this house itself is traditional, and it is a traditional layout in the sense that you do have that front formal living room, which I don't know how much it's going to get used. To be honest.
You know what?
It's pretty to look at.
So we've had 2 open houses on this property so far.
Yeah, what's the feedback been?
Oh, let me tell you. Since I got this thing listed, I got my finger on the pulse of the market. We've had, actually, to be honest, like Joe mentioned, it's been a rough real estate market with interest rates high, and this has been the best weekend of open house showings for a new listing that we've had since
New year, new house.
Yeah, New Year, who does?
That's a New Year's resolution.
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah. So it was a great showing. I think we had 6 groups through the first day, 7 groups the second day, and I know in a lot of I think like on the West Coast, LA or Seattle, like there's tons of open houses. People sell houses on open houses. In the Austin market, we don't really sell houses through open houses. It's a lot of like neighbors and looky-loos, but it still
gets you good feedback.
On the house. We got great feedback, and on the layout of this house, we do have basically 2 living areas, and we got good feedback that some people like that have kids, because they can kind of create an escape room or a little playroom or a separate area, a banishment zone, if you will, for the children. And I think that is a great use for what is otherwise sort of an awkward sitting parlor little space.
All good things come back. They come back in style. We're coming back to everyone wanted an open concept. Now we're back to it.
Yeah.
You stay over there. I'm over here.
But the house, it did get great feedback. I think the only, the negatives were things that we knew are a challenge, like a smaller kitchen, which we couldn't do much about. Location is amazing. Quality of the renovation.
Tons of bedroom space. Great family house.
Yeah.
A huge primary.
The primary suite on this thing is one of the weirdest for this era house. That bedroom is massive.
Yes.
And that, to your point, that was one of the reasons it's such a big bedroom, and then the proportion of closet space to how big the bedroom is doesn't really fit the modern buyer, which is why we reclaimed some of the space for an additional primary closet on this one.
Yeah. We also reworked the primary bathroom because it was a little quirky. It had like sort of the 70s vanity walk-in space.
I can already hear the YouTube comments on the layout of this primary bathroom. If you've watched that video, you've probably left a hateful comment about the layout of that bathroom.
Video's not out yet. When you watch this video and leave a hateful comment.
Do we address in that video the constraints on that bathroom layout? Because I think we might need to, because what we were talking about earlier, there were only so many places that we could actually fit the primary toilet and shower while still being able to reroute the plumbing down above the kitchen out to the exterior wall. And so we have it's like a slightly awkward placement of the toilet and the shower in that room to be able to expand it and get a double vanity in there and get a bigger shower and include a toilet in there. We had to work with what we had. And I think if you just saw this, you'd be like, well, that's not the layout I would have chosen. Well, it's the layout you would have chosen if you'd seen what's
the best
under
option of the
floorboards and the joists and the trusses of this house. So, that's...
Yeah, we need to make a point of that in questions, Massiel.
Yeah, I need to preempt the haters on that, Massiel, so I don't have to listen to all those negative comments about our placement of it. Really, it is one of those things. I think when you're watching a show or whatever on flipping a house or whatever, you don't take into consideration like the constraints that you're working with, both from like a physical and engineering perspective
and
on
financial.
The house and the financial perspective. Right. We get comments all the time that are like, "Why didn't you build a turret? Why didn't you build a underground bunker?" It's like, well, We could have.
Wouldn't have made any money on the project.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, speaking of financials and maybe some things that we didn't do, we didn't choose to capture the garage or the laundry area.
So that was an internal debate for us, right?
The laundry is in the
laundry
garage.
is in the garage, which is a turnoff for some buyers, and especially at this price point. Reconfiguring that to create a laundry room, the juice we just didn't feel like was worth the squeeze on that.
Yeah, I think one thing people don't realize is like when you add additional square feet to a house, even if it's the conversion of a garage space or a patio or whatever, the timeline and permitting and costs associated with that are, I mean, it can double or triple the timeline on the overall project. So that's triple the holding costs, not to mention the work itself. So you got to be really confident that you're going to get that money back on the back end. And sometimes that can pencil out and work. And other times on a house like this, it really doesn't.
Well, and in this neighborhood, people are just used to having laundry in the garage because most of the houses were built at a time when, you know, people didn't appreciate women and they were just out there in the garage anyway. So
Say more about that. This is the first I'm hearing of that. Is that something I missed?
No, but in the era, it was common to have your laundry in the garage. And so people just sort of, that's one of the things. It's like you got the trees, you also get laundry in the garage. Like it's a trade-off.
Have you ever done
here.
laundry in the garage?
I have, yes. Our first house had laundry in the garage because it was built in the 60s. Our current house had laundry in the garage because it was built in the 60s. We moved it inside because we're modern.
How did that make you feel?
I wasn't the one doing the laundry at the garage. I never did laundry in the garage.
Andy's the
no, we didn't. We put it in.
Guy?
We put it in before we moved in. So
wait, I thought you just said you did laundry in the garage.
At my first house.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
You did. How did that make you feel?
Disrespected. Subhuman.
Subhuman. I'm sorry for your struggle, man. That is, yeah. Somebody, can you imagine?
But okay. Also, let's talk about this kitchen, right? So this was a time where kitchens, same thing, house I bought, kitchen was like this tiny little thing in the back of the house, had a drive-through window to the living room. Like, here, let me get you your dinner, sir. So
yeah,
only big enough for one person to be in it. Like, you know, it was just a different time, different era, different.
I went and walked like a multi-million-dollar house a few months back or whatever.
You shopping?
I'm just shopping. Nah, I was just a friend of mine had the listing, and I was just like, I was looky-loo, to be honest. I just wanted to see this thing. I'm not shopping. I got a 3% mortgage. I'm not in the market. And it was the most amazing thing because
I've got 2.75.
Wow. That's the new flex is your mortgage rate below 3%. Look at you. This house was the most amazing thing because it had basically your show kitchen, the front kitchen behind this massive rock wall. And then behind the rock wall was the real kitchen. Oh, yeah. The work kitchen. The butler's kitchen or whatever. Yeah. It was a whole second kitchen. It had, you know, the dishwasher and the stove.
But if you have a house like that, then you probably have like a staff that's in that kitchen.
I guess.
This is like Hilton level. She had 13 people in her house that work for her. I'm like, what are they all doing?
I guess. I didn't know if it was for your staff.
That's hot. That's hot.
That second servant's kitchen is hot. She oh my gosh. I don't know, but the main kitchen was obviously for entertaining. I mean, it had seating.
Yeah.
Well,
that's where everyone wants to hang out.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't want to actually see
your dirty dishes in the sink and stuff.
In the Gilded Age, the kitchen was downstairs in the basement. They didn't even have a kitchen. I mean, it was.
Wish we could go back to those days.
Man.
You know.
Well, I don't know that I'd be living upstairs. I'd probably be downstairs.
The Irish servant down there.
Probably
trying to get a date with the paper boy or whatever.
From the other servant. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that for you.
But I would be so excited by fireworks. Fireworks would just, I would just be so excited.
To see fireworks?
Yeah, they were all mesmerized. It was a big thing. Yeah, they're all jacked up. Like fireworks. The whole city is just watching fireworks. I'm like, I wish I could be.
Fireworks, just like the Gilded Age. It's like TikTok of the Gilded Age.
100%. TikTok of the Gilded Age. Dang. Fireworks.
Oh man.
So let's talk a little bit. We talked design wise, but and we got into the scope in the kitchen and the upstairs bathroom. Let's talk about some of the more challenging things. Really, is this backyard, French drain, sloping, a lot of internal conversations about how much to improve or not improve. We took down and like a little patio cover that was here, which I think was an upgrade.
Yeah. That was really enclosing. That was making a small backyard feel even smaller. And it wasn't like you needed the protection from the sun because you've got this giant cliff where the sun sets at 4 o'clock every day back there. Yeah, I don't know, Joe. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the overall project and scope, and like working with our clients on it, and making some of those trade-off decisions, because there were a lot of trade-offs that we had to make here, because you could have spent a fortune on this thing.
Grading in the backyard was difficult. I think the other thing was the driveway. That grading plays into there too, and that was some feedback we got from one of the listing agents.
The steep lot, yeah.
It's like the driveway is basically unusable in current form. I mean, it's like
if you don't have an SUV, basically.
Yeah.
Everyone living here has an SUV in this neighborhood.
They probably do. Yep.
Waiting for the snow, and then that driveway is how you enjoy
get the
some
sleds.
tubing, skiing.
Sledding.
Totally.
This whole hill.
I think the other decision, like Lincoln mentioned, which was do we convert the laundry in the garage and go through the whole permitting process around submitting plans and et cetera. But Randy and Julian were so fun to work with. They were really kind of like trusting the process, to your point on having Randy having been through the experience before. I think that made kind of all of it a lot easier. We talked through lots of what we are talking through now, and they kind of came to the same conclusions. I think in retrospect, maybe they would have played around with the configuration upstairs, possibly a bit different. The shower is sort of more rectangular. They might have made it more square and placed the toilet in a different place in the room, but neither here nor there. We are where we are.
It's a great shower though.
Yeah, it's cool. The tile design is really fancy.
Yeah.
Really fancy.
Nice.
Yeah, I think the other big, debate we had was in this backyard, because you do have quite a bit of a slope, and there's a lot that you can do with it that none of it is cheap. I think basically putting in any kind of like retaining wall or like a terraced, deal to help, reclaim a little bit of space and curb erosion. I mean, anything like that, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars, probably $50,000 to $75,000 to really, permanently correct that. And I think ultimately whoever buys this house is going to put in their own full-on landscape
spin on it, but it's not something you would appreciate as a buyer coming in like, oh, that's $50,000 worth of work. No, you just think, oh, that's something I'll address later.
Exactly. Which is why ultimately that's a low ROI project for this house, right?
There was one angle we could have played around with the fence line to capture the two spaces that are available on the side of the house.
Yep.
And that would have picked up some, and that's a really cheap thing that the next homeowner can do to pick up, I'd say, like 250 maybe more square feet in the backyard. I mean, there's enough room for a cowboy pool or for someone to get creative.
Yeah, there's still room to do stuff.
Oh yeah, you could put a trampoline back there. You could put a little playscape. You can do it. You can do it all.
I like how Joe's like cowboy pool and you're full on family mode. Like, oh yeah, you could do it. You could put a playscape. You could put a trampoline. Okay, so we got into it a little bit with Randy and Julian, but like, let's talk through, just because we have you on, have the opportunity to talk about what does it look like to work with Homemade, and like, what is that experience like from your perspective? You are sort of like our initial face of the program when people are first interested. Like, walk us through what that looks like, and if people are interested, sort of what can they expect?
I think you said it best. We're signing up for a minimum 6-month relationship here.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, folks go through a short application process where they get to meet the entire team, hear more about sort of what roles and responsibilities would look like, and kind of who gets to do what.
Yep.
AKA Homemade does lots of the unfun
Homemade
things.
does most of it. They get to pay.
We do lots of the unfun things, and our partners get to make the sort of highest level ROI decisions throughout. So what house do they choose to work with us on? How do they finance it?
What design they pick?
The exit strategy, things like that. And so Randy, having been through the experience before, was really familiar with that. Julian was actually, I think, a really interesting case study, because he had joined us back when we were Flipster in a Box days, so kind of pre-Homemade, and the experience has changed a lot in that time frame. Yep. But yeah, from the application kind of screening process, we get into sort of a short onboarding to brief the team on like the process of all the things we just mentioned. And then we'll start sending folks deals. And at that point, that's when the rubber meets the road and the magic kind of starts to happen. There's always idiosyncrasies with each house that we put out. Some folks want certain things to be improved, maneuvered, whatever. But yeah, Randy, having done this before, it was pretty smooth sailing. What he wanted was a house with more meat on the bone. And this was exactly that.
And then once they take down a house or say, yes, this is a project I want to do, we have an online dashboard portal that they can log in. They can see real-time project updates, especially just really helpful for our virtual clients.
Yeah, we're about to launch our new client portal, right?
Totally. That's a great flag. So as a backup process, the way we send out and market our deals, all of that due diligence and underwriting is like compiled into what we call a deal page. And that deal page is sent via email to everybody.
And what's on that deal page? What is due diligence?
You tell them. You tell the folks. You tell the folks.
It's everything you'd ever want to see and more.
He's feeling too salesy. No, the deal page. I'll say the deal page. We're basically putting out everything you need to know to make a decision about that project. So we've
prospectus, basically, right?
Right. Yeah. We've run all the due diligence on the house. So we've inspected it. We've put together our proposed scope of work, our proposed budget for it, maybe some mood boards around design directions that we think might work that you've put together, as well as like financing options and packages that go along with that.
Yep.
A 3D scan of the house so that you can like walk it, get the feel for it. Google Maps that thing, plenty of pictures, any other supporting due diligence information that you don't think of, like floodplain information, tax information, deed restrictions,
open permit search, because we've gotten all the mistakes that we've learned the hard way are compiled here, plus a calculator to see,
different scenarios.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's what makes the yes, no decision hopefully a lot easier. There's always excitement, but yeah, folks would then sign up and say, this is the one, let's get off to the races. We'll get to closing and purchase the house. They'll purchase the house. They'll be on title. They'll be on the loan. And then we'll kick off the renovation. And to your point, Lauren, we have all of that kind of now put together in a pretty slick client portal where, photos, timelines, status updates, what's scheduled, what's not.
Our 3D render.
All of your documentation. So the closing docs with the purchase of the house, the loan, your insurance stuff. It's the source of truth for the project to make sure that we're all tracking on the same page.
And you can log in there and you can see exactly where the project is, what stage, and even sort of like red light, yellow light, green light, as far as how are we looking on budget, how are we looking on timeline, et cetera. So you get just sort of at a glance updates,
It's your deal command center.
It's your deal command center.
I like that better. That's good.
Should we rebrand? Goodness.
Deal command. Cool. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So if you guys want to work with this man, if you love this mug, this clean shaven guy, Joe, our co-founder of Homemade over here, he's your guy. Go to homemade.co and apply. He'll probably be the first face.
He'll text you right away.
He'll text you. He'll send you some memes if he doesn't hear from you.
I'll be in your DMs.
He will slide right into your DMs. Now, Joe,
if you don't answer, we'll send you Kermit memes. Yes. So one way or another, we're going to talk to you if you give us your contact information. I'll tell you that.
We won't spam you, but if we spam you, it would be hilarious. Right?
What do you think? Okay, so if people are going to sort of self-select, what, in your opinion, makes for a really ideal client? Like who
do you want to work with, Joe?
No, more like who is this product best suited for? That you've talked to everyone.
I have to say, Randy and Julian are about as close to it as you can possibly get. They're business minded. The funds that they've put into this project aren't their like emergency day funds, which we obviously don't want to be working.
Right.
And, said politely, but like we just don't want someone putting their last dollar into a project with us, and God forbid anything happens. So they kind of check both of those boxes. They're really friendly, easy to work with. They're communicative. So when we reach out to them,
they respond.
We're not waiting for days. As Lincoln mentioned, this is a timely transaction. So we don't have time to wait for people that are going to kind of give us the go around.
Yeah.
I'd say those three things are and then hopefully they are fun to be around on camera would be the fourth sort of bonus.
You don't have to be. But it always helps.
We're not even fun on camera. We just work our magic. Our production team makes it appear that way. So,
I'm fun.
I beg to differ. Y'all are pretty fun.
Come on, you're fun. You're fun. Don't sell yourself short, Lauren.
Okay. Well, I think this has been a fun episode. I'm really glad you got to join us,
Appreciate
Joe.
Y'all for having me on.
A huge part of
fun.
The origin of Homemade and the day-to-day. So it's good for the people to see your face.
Appreciate all your work, Joe. All your client relations and mastery, all the hard work you do getting our partner clients onboarded, in the day-to-day of these transactions. So couldn't have built this company without you, man.
Appreciate you. With y'all.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Cool.
y'all.
If you guys want to know
Cheers.
more, go to homemade.co.
And set your alarms
Oh,
2
yeah.
days until the big episode. So if you want to see all of the stuff
Yep.
that we were talking about in this project and you want to leave your hate comments on what we did wrong, what we should have done different, make sure you're subscribed. Awesome Flipsters on YouTube and Instagram.
Oh, all right. Follow us on Instagram too. Let's plug away. Let's plug it all.
Plug it all. Plug
Follow
it all.
us.
And
And
subscribe
we're
to
on-
this podcast and tell your friends.
We're on TikTok too.
We
y'all.
are on the TikTok.
We're on the TikToks.
And we're gonna
We're
be
the
posting
fireworks of 2024.
All right, y'all. This has been another episode of the Awesome Flipsters podcast. Thank you guys for watching. We will catch you on the next one.
Peace.
Peace.